as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ. I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain. Yea, and if I be offered upon the sacrifice and service of your faith, I joy and rejoice with you all. For the same cause also do you joy and rejoice with me. The verse of emphasis, verse number 15, I'll read it again, because that's where my text or topic is coming from. That you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Before you take your seat, I want you to turn to the person next to you, look him or her in the eyes, and repeat after me. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. You may have your seat. I believe the house has already addressed, so I'm not going to be repetitive to waste time. Only got a few moments to minister, so I thank God for each and every one of you. My beautiful wife, my children, my daughter, my granddaughters, the people of God. I want to recognize a special guest who surprised me on this morning, Brother Teal Bristol. And so that's your wife and your family. God bless you all, the Bristol family. They came all the way from Greenwood, South Carolina, to be with us on this morning. Thank you so much. Thank God for the mother of our own Sister Aarons. God bless her. Good to see Evangelist Gray and her family and her guests. God bless you. And thank God for Brother Benison and our guest back here. I think he came once before. The prophet. God bless you, sir. Good to see you, man of God. Just give me a few moments and I'll be out your way. The late former President of South Africa, President Mandela, said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talent, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Beloved, whether you realize it or not, we are the light of the world. And unless we allow our lights to shine, the world will be lost. As a child, we sung that song, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Why? Because Jesus gave it to me. So I'm going to let it shine. Light is something that's reflective of a greater power source. We can't make our light shine because we're not the source of the power of the light. God is the source. And we are like the mirror or the reflection of the glory of God that shines from within our heart. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't you know you're a light that shines in darkness? And that men, women, boys, and girls will be lost unless you allow your light to shine. When we look at the context of our text, Paul says, wherefore, my beloved. Let me stop there for a moment because the word wherefore followed by a comma signifies that something preceded it. Wherefore means as a result of. In other words, what happened to cause Paul to talk about the wherefore? Well, what happened is found in verses 5 to 10, where Paul talks about Jesus Christ and his perfect example of humility, where God became a man, where God humbled himself, left heaven's glory, wrapped himself in a garment of flesh, and came down for the express purpose of dying for you and my sins. He endured the most humiliating, disgraceful type of execution so that you and I might be made in the image of God. He came to redeem what Adam had lost when he sinned against God. And because of his willingness to humble himself, God has given him a name which is above every name in heaven and on earth, that in the name of Jesus, every knee would bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. In other words, there's no other name under heaven wherein men, women, boys, and girls might be saved. Turn to them and say, neighbor, Jesus paid it all. All to him I owe. Sin had left crimson tide, but he washed me white as snow. What can wash away my sins? What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Clorox cannot do it. Ammonia cannot do it. Full of soap cannot do it. Only the blood of Jesus can cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Aren't you glad that he died? Aren't you glad that he shed his blood for you and I, so that you and I are saved? So Paul is saying in essence, because Jesus did this, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but not much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. What is he saying? He's saying because Jesus made the perfect example for us, we are to do likewise. We are to live so somebody else can be benefited. We are to talk so that somebody else can be saved. We are to carry ourselves so the light of Jesus Christ, the word of Jesus Christ might be preeminent in our lives, so that men and women, boys and girls might see Christ in us and come into a saving relationship with him. Do I have any witnesses in the house today? Sometimes we fail to understand our significance. And we think humility, like Nelson Mandela says, means that we have to act small, that others may think that we're not thinking too highly of ourselves. We are not light because we said one day, woke up one morning and said, I'll be light. We are light because Jesus said, we are the light of the world. And because he said we are light, even within our imperfections, we're the best light this world has. We are the only light this world has. We are the only hope this world has forever being saved. Glory to God. So So what is Paul saying to us? He's saying to us, we've got to humble ourselves. We're going to have to be humiliated. We're going to have to take the low road and allow you to take the high road. Sometimes we're going to have to be walked on. Sometimes we're going to have to endure our names being placed on the billboards of scandal. Sometimes we're going to have to endure the ridicule, the suffering, and the shame. Because at the end of the day, we are nothing more than grateful lights. We are not our own, but we are bought with a price. Yes, so he's went on to say, therefore, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. When you look at that word, work out, it seems like it's saying that our salvation is dependent upon ourselves. But that is not what the word is saying. Because if it said that, it contradicts verse number 13. What he's really saying, he uses the word in the Greek for workout, which simply means to bring to completion. In other words, what God had begun in us, you and I have to allow God to work out the process. We have to allow God to complete or to finish what it is he has begun in us. Sometimes as people of God we become discouraged, especially when we find ourselves sinning or we find ourselves falling short or speaking out of turn. We think that because we mess up that we are no longer saved. But you have to understand that salvation is not a one-time event, but it's an ongoing, continual process. And the thing about a process is a sequence of events that leads to a particular goal. And I'm so glad it's the process, because one sin or one mistake does not change the end state or the goal. Because at the end of the day, it is God that owns the process. You and I are just partakers or active participants in the process with God when it comes to salvation. So Paul is saying to you and I, we have to be careful how we allow God to use us, how we allow God to make and to mold us. Some of us get tired of going through the same old thing. We get tired of going through the same old process. Everywhere we turn, there is trouble. Everywhere we turn, there is trials. There is sickness, there is death, there's financial hardship. It's like Paul said, we are pressed in on every side. It seems like we can't go to the left or to the right. We only have the option of going backwards or going forward. But we've come too far to turn around. So we only have one option. And that option is to go forward. That's why we have to continue to press, despite what it looks like, despite what it feels like, despite what the enemy tries to tell you, you are not going to make it. You have to understand, for it is God who worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, God is working something in me. And when God gets through with me, I shall come forth as pure gold. You can magnify my faults if you want to. You can talk about me if you want to. But at the end of the day, I said to ask you to please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. When God gets through with me, I shall come forth as pure gold. Turn to your neighbor, say, neighbor, the process is working off the dross in my life. It's working off the rough edges of my life. God is making and molding my character. And sometimes it might hurt, but hang on in there. Know that God does not begin nothing that he cannot finish. Hallelujah. I'm so glad that the God that we serve is in the business of construction and not destruction. He's not a demolition God, but God knows how to put us on the potter's wheel and begin to mold us and make us. even at those times